Oh, hey, look, more Starscreams. Yeah, I'm doing a handful of small figures all together this time around because I figure why not? When I do more than one figure at a time, it goes through the list a little bit faster, so I can end up. I'm very slowly making my way towards doing a video on every single figure that I own. Which, of course, that will change based on stuff that I keep versus sell and new things I get, but I don't know. I think it'd be nice to do videos on everything and then be kind of caught up, so to speak. And then I only have to worry about making videos on the things I get new. Anyway, yes, that was an unnecessarily long, rambly intro, but today taking a look at Cybertron Legends Starscream and what are these things called again? Why am I suddenly blanking? I had this in my head before. Tiny Turbo Changers, that's what it is. Tiny Turbo Changers Starscream from, I believe, Revenge of the Fallen, because of the tattoos on top. Yeah, a couple of tiny Starscreams, and they are both cute, though the Tiny Turbo Changers is a lot. The Tiny Turbo Changers version of Starscream is a lot cuter. And also, this is one of the first ones that I got, and I really missed the boat on these things. These are very cool. I love the Tiny Turbo Changers. I want to get more, but it stinks that it's so difficult to track down specific ones, and I can't find the blind bags anywhere. And if I find them online, they're way overpriced for what they are. I can't just buy a box and open them. I would love to buy a box of Tiny Turbo Changers and open them, possibly as a stream or a video or something like that. But I'm not spending $200+ on a box of these things. We'll see if that changes in the future. But yeah, just having this guy, and I guess spoilers for later, but we're also going to be taking a look at this guy. They're fun for what they are. They're extremely simple, but they're fun. Now, let's start actually by looking at Tiny Turbo Changer Starscream, and he is just the cutest. He's like a little squished up version of the, what is it, F-22 Raptor that he's supposed to be from the movies. There's actually a lot of really nice molded detail on this thing, despite its size and simplicity. And some nice, the actual tattoo tampographics are done pretty cleanly and nicely as well. It does kind of stink that it just kind of cuts off here. I kind of think it would have been cool if it kind of went in this area a little bit more, but I'm sure that's some kind of limitation of the process of putting all this together. There's also none back here. But you do get that nice kind of coppery gold for the cockpit. And it's a nice design. I think it's cute, but also nicely detailed. And also you've got a very awkwardly folded up Starscream on the bottom, because the transformation on these things is incredibly simple. But yeah, I don't know, it's cute. The colors are nice, the molding is really nice, and there is a decent amount of paint for what it is on the vehicle mode, so I like that. And let's stick with the Tiny Turbo Changers for now, and just say that Soundwave fares a little bit not as good. I mean, it's a nice, nice design, nice molding. The transformation is, again, really simple, and you've just got even more obvious robot on the underside there. But the problem that I have with this is that, okay, yes, they painted the wheels black. That's nice. It's a little bit weird that this almost looks like it's pinned, but it's not. But hey, whatever. But yeah, it's cool that they painted the wheels. It's cool that they painted the side windows, but the front windshield isn't painted. I feel like this would have been more important to paint than the side windows, but maybe that's just me. And I would love to go in and paint it myself, but this is kind of a rubbery feeling plastic, and I've not had much luck using my paints, which are enamel-based, on rubbery plastics, so for the time being at least, this is just going to look like this, so that's a shame. But yeah, the molding is nice, and it looks like a cute, squished-up version of a high-end, very expensive sports car. I don't really think this looks all that much like Soundwave's vehicle mode from the movie. I don't know, I'm not a car guy, but that hood does not look right in terms of, it doesn't look accurate to the source material. I could be wrong. It may have something to do with the stylization, but it just seems like this is a different car entirely that was squished up to look like this. As I said, I could be wrong, but I don't know. Still cute, still neat. But then the Cybertron Legends Starscream is actually really cool. Like, this is practically, in terms of like molding and detailing, close to a one-to-one to the regular size toy. And I mean regular size toy, not that absurdly huge Supreme Class one that was blown up to an unreasonable size. This is more like Galaxy Force Starscream in terms of the design and deco and all that. But it's really cool. There are some areas that could have used some paint, like the guns on the sides primarily could use a little bit. But it does look good. It's got some nice molding, as I said. The wings are a little bit tiny, but that's okay. You can see his head, but you can see that on the other figure as well. The legs don't really lock in, so the toes kind of wiggle a little bit in the front, but that's okay. And underneath is surprisingly clean. You get the fist sticking out of the back, but oh well. Yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of decent paint on this guy, and it's a neat little alt mode. I like this alt mode. It's, you know, I like the Cybertronian Tetrajet design. Now, he does actually do the thing. You obviously don't get to do the cyber key thing, because there is no cyber key that's like this big, but he has the little flip out weapons under the wings. You can flip them out, and unfortunately this is based on the Supreme Class figure, so you've got the cool sword on one side and the gun on the other, and that's a disappointment, but oh well. He's small, it's fine, it's cute. These are not spring-loaded, but how could they be? But yeah, it's cool. I like the color breakup, I like the patterning, I always like the design of this, and I kind of like having a teeny representation of this figure. Though I do wish I still had the full-size one. Now, for size comparison, since everyone is so small, we'll just have them all here, kind of off to the side. And bring everyone in here, and it's they're small. They're very small. I mean, obviously Starscream is a Legends class figure, so he is gonna be small, but like the tiny turbo changers definitely earned the tiny. Yeah, that's like if we let's move Soundwave here, I guess, and Starscream up here, and angle this down a bit. You can see, yeah, they're small. These are like pencil box eraser size practically, which I actually really dig. I'm the kind of kid who in grade school totally would have had like some silly Transformer erasers that I would have either never used because I never wanted to use them up, or always used because Transformers. And just for something a little bit more in line with everything else, here they are with... That did not want to hold. Why aren't you? Whatever, I don't care. Here they are with a semi-recent core class figure, in this case that being Shockwave. And again, like even Shockwave is making these figures look a little bit small, particularly the tiny turbo changers, but like he is noticeably bigger than Starscream as well, and actually a little bit denser and heavier. So that's something to consider. And finally, bring in the most important one for the size comparisons. Here is everybody with the duck tank. And now for the transformations, let's just do the turbo changers first because they're so simple. And we'll start with Soundwave because why not? So, way to do this is you want to pull the arms out. They don't pull out as far as I would like, but they do pull out a little bit. You can see you slide out just a bit. And show you from this side, they slide out like that. And I like to rotate them forward, at least temporarily, just to get them out of the way, because we now need to flip the hood down so that we can fold this little flap back temporarily. It's just attached up here. And then we can rotate the legs around 180 degrees and then put the flap little flap thing back down. And there we have Soundwave. and he is the cute little boy. Put him back here. Starscream is actually even easier, if you can believe that. Now you just want to unpeg the arms. They peg in right here. There's a little slot. There's a little tab. Just unpeg the arms and bring them out. And then pull down these legs, and that is it. And there we have little Dorito Starscream. And he is also incredibly small and cute. Now, Cybertron Legends Starscream is a bit more involved, but I also think it's cool just how similar this is to the full-size figure. So, what we're going to do is use these ball joints and stalks to kind of get the shoulder sections up and out of the way. Then pull down just a little bit, pull down so that we can pull out to get the leg out, and then rotate it around at the hip, then rotate it around at the knee, and then flip up the foot. Same thing here, pull down just a little bit so we can wiggle this out, rotate it, and then straighten that out. And there is the lower body. Next, I'm going to fold this down, and it doesn't peg into place, but it does nicely kind of settle into place. And we can angle the wing/shoulder bits so that they're now oriented properly. The forearms will unpeg from the backs of the shoulders. There are these tiny pegs that peg into those tiny holes. So you unpeg those and swing them around so that they are in position, like that. And this is something I actually wish the full-size figure did, but what you do is you take this section here, and rather than rotating the wings down, the entire back section of the vehicle mode rotates 180 degrees to sit down here. And that gets it out of the way really nicely, and because this guy's small, it doesn't feel like this sticks out too far. And there we have Cybertron Legends Starscream, and he is also very cute, but he is, I think, a little bit more cool in addition to being cute. And there we have our trio, and they are both awesome for what they are and completely ridiculous, and I love them. And they're, yeah. I mean, Starscream and Soundwave are... This Starscream and Soundwave are very, very, very simple. But I do think they're really cool. So let's do what we did before and take a look at, well, we'll start with Soundwave this time. So, you know, again, like the molding is actually really nice. There's a lot of really nice molded detail on this robot mode. There's, you know, you can see his little like speaker things on his arms. There's a little Decepticon spot there on his chest. The head is really nicely detailed. He is, of course, slightly, proportions are slightly off because they're trying to, you know, make him tiny and cute. But, like, the molding is solid. It's really, looks really nice. And he gets a nice splash of red for the visor that pops really nicely. But the problem is that's the only paint he gets. It really would have been nice if they could have done maybe a little paint on the arms or something, just for those, like, speakers. But it is what it is. I don't know. It's a little disappointing because even though Starscream only has, like, the eyes, the cockpit section, and then the tampos on the back, it still feels like he's painted more because of those tampos, whereas Soundwave, even though he technically has more paint because he's got the visor, 4 wheels, and 2 windows, actually, I guess technically 4 windows, because there's actually a separation there that I didn't notice, so that's a little bit of paint slap on this guy. But the point is, Soundwave seems like he has more individual paint applications, but he looks like he's painted less, and that's kind of disappointing. But again, they're small and cute and simple, and that's kind of their whole shtick, so I'm not super bothered by it. It just would have been nice. But again, the molding on this is really, really nice. And the articulation is really barely anything, but still more than you might expect given the size and simplicity of this guy. You know, you can swivel the arms, so you can be like, ooh, I'll get you next time, Bumblebee, or something like that. You can kind of wiggle them a little bit, but it's not really posability. And then if you want, if you get this out of the way, you can rotate the waist section a little bit so you can get a little bit more expressive with Soundwave. And then you can angle the hood in a few ways, but really if you want him to stand, you just kind of have to leave it like that. So, you know, you could do a little bit in terms of posing. You can have him do this, or this, or this, like, yeah. It's not something you're going to be doing dynamic photos and poses with. It's just like a fun little desk toy to mess with, but I do think he is fun to mess with. And Starscream, again, the molding on this is fantastic. There's just so much really nice intricate molding in the legs and the torso section, even the underside of the nose cone here. And the arms, tiny though they may be, are also nicely shaped and molded. And of course, you've got Starscream's head, which, due to the nature of everything, sits kind of recessed in those shoulders, but I think that's okay, again, for what this is. And the molding is great, as I said. But also, like with Soundwave, the only thing he's got painted in robot mode are his eyes, which is a little bit of a shame, but I think it bothers me less for Starscream because this is more accurate to Starscream's colors, where it's like, I mean, granted, yes, in the movie where he had the Cybertronian tattoos, they were all over his robot mode, but like in the original movie, it was mostly just a silvery gray robot with eyes. So it doesn't bother me as much here. Now, his articulation is both better and worse than Soundwave's. You actually get a little bit more with the arms because they can go in and out as part of the transformation in addition to rotating. So you can do a little bit more expressive posing with the arms. And then you can do this, which is really nothing. So you can, like, whoops. So you could, like, do a Starscream's not feeling well. You could do a four-legged Gerwalk, I guess. I don't know. You can't really do much with him. You can kind of punch him over a little bit and he will still stand, but he's just fun. He's fun to mess with. I like that you can transform him in like 2 seconds. And he's just tiny jet, and then tiny robot. And it's, I don't know, like, this was a couple of months ago when I was doing like a video call. I had this guy in my hands and was just transforming him back and forth because it was just kind of pleasing to do, almost calming in a way, like a little fidget toy or something. So yeah, he's neat. That said, I don't think there's any denying that Cybertron Legends Starscream is the better toy of these three. I mean, he looks fantastic. Again, the coloring is really nice. I didn't mention it in the vehicle mode, but I really like this metallic red that they used all over. That looks great. The color matching on the boosters on the shoulders is actually pretty nice. Like, it's definitely more of a black, and the plastic for the forearms and thighs is more of a blue. But it still works really well. It actually matches to the head pretty nicely. And I love that you get that little kind of gold detail around the shoulder spike or shoulder pylons or whatever. And you can still do the gimmicks, so you can flip those out if you want. And it's cool. He's a fun little guy. He looks really nice. Again, a lot of the necessary molded details are there in as much as they could get given the size. And it's a neat little Starscream. I really like this, and getting this really made me want to go back and get the Galaxy Force figure, or a version of this mold that released in the US that isn't as expensive, but is this, like, you know, the deluxe size or Voyager size rather than gigantic. And the head is also, like, pretty much on point. It's grumpy Cybertron Starscream. They painted the face silver, so it does stand out, and that is a tiny face. Like, I'm not entirely sure how best to show how small that is. Here's Core Class Shockwave's head, so you can see that, like, Shockwave's head looks practically gigantic next to Starscream's head. So yeah, that's impressive that they painted that tiny face. And he actually is almost as posable, if not better, in posability than the original figure. You've got the head can actually swivel. It's a little bit tricky to do because of how it sits recessed between these pylons here, but you can get his head to turn. It's just a matter of finding the leverage and angles. But yeah, head rotation is there. The shoulders are actually better than the regular toy because you get a lot more outward motion, and they don't just snap back down when you do that. And you can do a full 360, and you can also get kind of a butterfly motion because the ball socket is on this really, or the ball joint is on this really big stalk. Unfortunately, you do not get anything at the arms. This is as far as they go. You do not get elbows. That is a little disappointing. But given how this thing transforms, like it's just a hinge back here. Like I completely understand why there are no elbows. It's just a little bit of a disappointment that they're not there, but I totally get why they're not there. There is no waist rotation, but you know, given how this thing transforms, I don't really see, especially at this size, how they could have done that. You got ball jointed hips that can kick forward to 90 and can kick back really far. I guess they could probably go past 90 if you kick out, so they can get past the molded guns there. You get a little bit of what could work as a thigh swivel because of that ball joint, and you can also bring the legs out, not quite to 90, but still pretty far. But then the knees are also ball jointed, so you can rotate at the knee to act as a thigh swivel. So even though you get a little bit of a thigh swivel there, you can still thigh swivel there as well. And because of the transformation and the nature of the joint, you can bend that knee all the way in. So nice dynamic knee bend. And then you can point the foot if you want. You can even go back like that if you want. Can't imagine why, but you can do that. So yeah, this guy is actually pretty posable, and aside from the lack of elbows, he's more posable than the than the full-sized figure, which is both kind of really awesome and a little embarrassing for the for the full-sized figure. But you know, it is what it is. I still have a lot of affection for that full-size figure. I really should have held on to that, but I am a fool. Don't be like me. Hang on to the figures that you love. Anyway, let us wrap this up. This is going to be the shortest video I've recorded in a hot second because, my goodness, we're only at 20 minutes and we're practically done. But there we have the trio of cuties. I feel like I've zoomed out too far, but I probably haven't. So there they are. And now bring in everyone else. So here is Artfire and Rotor Storm and Burnout and Ova Prime and Samus. So there you can see how the Tiny Turbo Changers and Cybertron Legends Starscream stacks up against larger, more standard-ish size figure. I mean, I guess I can't say standard because Cybertron Legends Starscream is like kind of a standard size, but you all know what I mean, right? At least in terms of like the standard size comparisons that I use. And because we looked at them before, here is core class Shockwave, so you can get a feel for how everyone compares to a core class, a modern, well, I mean, I guess core class is just in itself modern because that's what they're calling it now. But there you go. So yeah, Starscream is a little smaller than Shockwave. Shockwave does have more articulation, and I feel like the paint is maybe a little better on Starscream, but it's not too far off, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this was pretty darn close, like to modern standards, and this was, I forget when this came out, but I'm pretty sure it was at least 10 years ago, possibly longer, probably longer. Ugh. The infinite march of time needs to stop for just a little bit. Give me time to catch up. But anyway, that'll do it for this random-ish assortment of 3 small, adorable, and extremely cool, or at the very least fun, figures. I do definitely wish I could get more tiny turbo changers for, an okay price. There's a handful that I really, really do want to get, but I also don't want to spend like $10 per figure for something like this. They're extremely cute and I love them, but I don't really think they're worth that. But they're still fun. But that is more than enough about what I think of Tiny Turbo Changers, Revenge of the Fallen Starscream, and Dark of the Moon Soundwave, and Cybertron Legends Starscream. What do you all think of any of these figures, or the Tiny Turbo Changers in general? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and I did that thing again. I forgot to talk about the Patreon and the coffee and all that. So yeah, coffee and Patreon links in the description if you want to support the channel using money. I'm certainly not above that. The Patreon campaign is just a single $1 tier, and that $1 a month gets you early access to new videos, so you can watch stuff a few days before everyone else. And if you would rather support the channel without spending money, which I completely get, totally get, you could always do the typical YouTube stuff of like, comment, share, subscribe, that kind of thing. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in whatever the next video turns out to be.